Now the for statement. It goes like this. You have the for keyword within parentheses. One here. You have three items. You initialize a variable integer counter equal 1 and assign it a value 1 all in one. Declare a variable of integer type and assign it a value. You have to initialize it. And a semicolon. Then a comparison. Counter is less than 3. Semicolon. Increment the counter. Counter plus plus means increment it by 1 every time, 0, 1, 2. Write it out to the log. So if I run this, what will it do? It'll, well, print out 0, 1, 2 while counter is less than 3. Another variation on it is counter equal counter plus 2. So now each time I'm incrementing it by 2. It doesn't have to be, just 1, you see 0 and 2. Now I want to show you another complication that isn't in the book, and it comes from my knowledge in Java actually. When I was preparing for the certification, you see you can declare two variables. Int counter is 0 and k comma, and k is also 0, or k could be 1 or something else. They have a comparison. You make a complex decision criteria. Counter is less than 3 and k is greater than 1. Then you increment counter by 2 and k plus by 1 or something else like that. So you could do things like that, a little bit more complicated for statement. And also within a for loop you could have another for loop right here. Another for loop. For example, if you are iterating over arrays, a two-dimensional array. So a for loop within a for loop is also possible. Now the other thing is that I'm going to revert back to my old example. Here we are. Now what if you want to bust out of a loop, a for loop, a do while, and a while loop? You are checking some conditions, you are doing something within the loop, and if those things happen, you are done. You don't want to execute any rest of the commands, you want to just get out of there. There are two commands, statements, break and continue. And it goes like this. You put continue there. And I'm going to run and do the step over. I come to continue. Let me try again. Okay, I learned that these continue and break statements are not that easy to debug. So I had to put one more log line, another line of code here, and to show you what's going on. So I have a for statement. This time, you see 1 is equal to 1, yeah, as some kind of condition, right? If it turns out to be true, I want to continue, and what continue will do is it's going to just skip over and from line 21 go back to line number 19 and skip line number 24. Watch. You see, it doesn't even come to line number 22, and that's what was going on before. It just goes back. It's not executing line number 24. Depending on, I have some criteria and I say continue. So that's what the continue statement does. When you issue it within a for loop, it skips everything after the continue. So if you want to, under some condition, you want to just skip over everything else that comes after, like what's going on over here. Now if you notice what's going on over here, it's in an infinite loop. This line of code, counter is not incrementing now that we are issuing a continuous statement. Did not know that. Actually, using this debugger, I didn't see it in the book, any mention of that. So you gotta do some kind of increment yourself by 1 or by 2 or whatever you want to do. So that's one caveat that just came up. I believe me, I never knew that. Also, what I'm seeing is that in the Java debugger, when you go through step into it, it'll actually execute 1, 2, and 3 and all these commands, and you can see in what sequence they are being ordered. And in this Objective-C debugger, it just thinks line number 19 is just one line. It doesn't skip over, so you can't see what's going on. Usually what happens is you initialize a variable and you run some code, then you increment it, then you run the counter. It's not in the same sequence as you see it. So next we look at the break. What if I break? There's a break command which says, well, don't continue to the next iteration, just bust out of this method altogether and skip to line number 29. Let's see if that's true. I am here, I do some test, I write it to a log, I increment the counter by 1, which I don't need showing the break command, and there you go. I just skipped over to line number 30, just broke out of the for loop altogether. It did not execute line number 25. So that's what the continue and break does for you, and they work in while loop and do loop as well. Let me show you another variation on this. You see the increment, I've totally taken it out, empty statement right there. And I've moved it here, right within the within the block, for block. Why would I do that? Well, maybe if I want to do some complex calculations on, and then increment it. I don't want a simple counter is equal to counter plus 1. And if I run it, I'm sure it's gonna go in there and it's gonna run 1 to 3 times and then exit. Now if let me show you one more thing. I'm gonna run this thing and see this counter. See, while I'm here, the counter is getting initialized. If there was another line here, let's set a breakpoint right there. See, when I come to line number 25, there is no counter. And also I assured you, if you type a line of code here on 18 and it stops there, is no counter on line 18 and there is no counter on after line 23. So what happens is that this counter has only a scope where it's visible between line number 19 and 23. What if after you are done, you want to perform some calculations on at line number 25, you want to know how many times the counter executed. So you could take this and move it one line up here, and then run it. So here we go. Now the counter is there. Now I'm on line number 25 and the counter is still there because I defined it outside the block. Its visibility is, it's a local to this method. Line number 18 is visible on any line after 18 all the way up to 25. However, it's only visible within this method, make purchase. Let me stress that again. Since I defined it within this method, it's only visible within this method. It's not going to be visible outside this method. So that's another point to note. So there are a number of rules regarding the for loop and the visibility of the different variables that you define. Now if I was to define a variable right somewhere within the body of the for loop, its visibility is also going to be within the for loop and not outside the for loop. It's not going to be visible on line number 24 or 18. If I define it here on line number 22, it'll be visible after line number 22 and before 23. So these are some of the other things to keep in mind.